In a quiet African village, where the days moved slowly and the air carried the sound of distant birds, Amina lived a simple life. She was known for her calm nature and gentle smile. But inside her heart, she carried dreams she had never spoken out loud. One evening, as the sun began to set and the sky turned warm shades of gold, she met Kofi. Their meeting was not dramatic. There were no words at first, just a brief moment where their eyes met and time seemed to pause. It was the kind of moment people often forget, except this one refused to be forgotten. Amina felt something shift inside her, a quiet feeling, unfamiliar yet comforting. She didn't know his name, she didn't know his story, but somehow she knew this meeting mattered, and without realizing it, her life had just begun to change. After that first meeting, Amina began to notice Kofi everywhere, not because he followed her, but because her heart had started looking for him. Soon their paths crossed again, and then again. Every evening, just before the sun disappeared, they met beneath an old tree at the edge of the village. It was a quiet place, away from noise, where words felt less important than presence. Sometimes they talked about simple things, childhood memories, small dreams, fears they had never shared. Other times they sat in silence, listening to the wind move through the leaves above them. But even in silence, they understood each other, slowly, gently, without ever saying the word out loud. A bond formed between them. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't loud, it was real, and both of them felt it. After that first meeting, Amina began to notice Kofi everywhere, not because he followed her, but because her heart had started looking for him. Soon their paths crossed again, and then again. Every evening, just before the sun disappeared, they met beneath an old tree at the edge of the village. It was a quiet place, away from noise, where words felt less important than presence. Sometimes they talked about simple things, childhood memories, small dreams, fears they had never shared. Other times they sat in silence, listening to the wind move through the leaves above them. But even in silence, they understood each other, slowly, gently, without ever saying the word out loud. A bond formed between them. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't loud, it was real, and both of them felt it. The first days after Kofi left felt strangely quiet. The village was the same, the people were the same, yet something was missing. Every afternoon, Amina walked toward the dusty road that led out of the village. She told herself she was only taking a walk, but deep down, she knew she was waiting. Waiting for footsteps, waiting for news, waiting for a letter with his name written on it. Each time the sun began to set, she returned home with empty hands. Still, she carried hope with her, holding on to the promise he had left behind. She believed distance was temporary. She believed silence was only a delay. So she waited, certain that love would eventually find its way back to her. Days slowly turned into weeks, and weeks quietly became months. At first, Amina made excuses for the silence. She told herself that the city was busy, that letters took time, that patience was part of love. But as the months passed, the silence grew heavier. People in the village began to notice. Some looked at her with sympathy. Others whispered that waiting for too long could break a heart. Amina heard them, but she didn't listen. Each night she sat alone, replaying his words in her mind. "I promise," he had said. And even as time moved forward, she remained still, waiting for a promise that had not yet arrived. One evening, as the village prepared for night, a stranger arrived from the city. He looked tired, worn by long roads and heavy memories. When he spoke Amina's name, her heart tightened. Slowly, carefully, he told her the truth. Kofi had fallen ill months after reaching the city. There was no family nearby, no one to return his letters. He had written to her, again and again, but those letters never found their way home. As the words sank in, the waiting finally ended, not with joy, but with a silence deeper than before. In that moment, Amina understood something painful. Some promises are never broken by choice, they are taken away by fate. That night, Amina returned to the old tree where everything had begun, the place where words were once unnecessary and hope felt endless. She didn't cry loudly. She didn't ask why. She simply stood there, listening to the silence that had followed her for years. For the first time, she understood that waiting was never her weakness. It was her proof of love. Some promises are never fulfilled. Some letters never arrive. And some love stories do not end with reunion. They end with understanding. Amina walked away slowly, carrying no anger, no regret, only a quiet memory of a love that once existed. And sometimes, that is how the deepest stories end. Subscribe for more African tales of love, loss, and the lessons life leaves behind.